Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Suzan Lund, who was known for a very long time as Ina Jane Doe because her severed head was found by two girls in a wooded area in the Wayne Fitzgerald State Park, which is in Ina, on January 27th of 1993, and they had no idea who she was because it was only a head that they found. And they released a very striking reconstruction of her, what they thought she would look like, where her head was very much tilted to one side, which gave her a very unusual appearance. And they do that on purpose because they think that by exaggerating certain features, somebody who knows the person will go, hey, that looks kind of like this person or that person. But she was unidentified for a very long time, about 29 years. And she had actually gone to the store on December 24th of 1992 to get some groceries, and she went hitchhiking because I believe they did not have access to a car at that time. She was not planning on disappearing, and nobody in her environment thought that she would, but she just didn't come back, and they didn't know anything about her fate for a very long time until she was finally identified using DNA technology, and her family finally learned that they had not indeed been abandoned by her. So we know where she ended up, we know when she disappeared, we know when her head was found, but we don't know anything about what actually happened to her, and that is why I wanted to do a reading on her. And to do that, we're starting off with the Crow Tarot, which is currently on the table. And for any further questions, moving on to a deck that I've had for a while but haven't used before, and that is the Tarot del Fuego. So I'm curious to see what type of reading I'm going to get with that. In any case, as usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have about a screen full of cards, we can stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Alright, so we're starting off with Judgment and the King of Cups in reverse and the Moon, followed by the Empress and the Seven of Wands. That's the entire top row there. Now, Judgment and the King of Cups followed by the Moon. I think this is Suzanne encountering somebody, a King of Cups, who is in reverse, by the way, meaning that they're not quite truthful, or at least manipulative in some sense. And they probably judged them as a good person because there are things hidden here with the Moon, and particularly because the Empress is next in the line. I thought this looks a lot like somebody walks up to her, drives up to her or something, rolls down the window and says, hey, this and that's happening, this is the case, and could you help me out? And she's like, oh, I couldn't just let him take care of that by himself. It won't be a lot of trouble for me to help him out, so I'm pretty sure everything is fine, and I can just quickly do this and then be in my way, that type of thing. So somebody may have come and asked them out. Kind of reminds me of how Ted Bundy had his arm in a sling for a while, and then he would walk around and ask for help from the girls that he was interested in, and those girls would end up being his victim, kind of like that. I'm not saying that this is what the person did, but something similar to that seems to have happened here, because the Moon is hiding something, and the King of Cups, like I said, is fairly manipulative because the Cups, of course, is an emotion suit, and the King is usually pretty good with his emotions and probably the best in the suit, and he is in reverse, so they probably saw her and judged her to be somebody who would help out, which is probably also why Judgment is popping up. So on their side, they judged her to be be somebody who would help out, because people who are out looking for particular people, they know what they're looking for. And she probably judged incorrectly because the moon is in reverse and the King of Cups is manipulative, that he was being truthful and that he needed help from her, and that it wouldn't be too much of an issue to give him that help. And also, I feel like they kind of maybe challenged her a little bit. Like maybe she had a moment of, I don't know, maybe she wanted to initially just kind of point him in the right direction, and then the person themselves was like, oh, can't you just do this thing for me? Like the Empress tried to help out initially, and this bird is flying, which kind of also shows me that maybe she initially just tried to keep her distance a little bit, but she did try to be helpful. Like she tried to point out the direction that they needed to go in, that she may have tried to point out some place that this person might be able to get help from. And then they came up with some reason why she had to be the one to help. And I think it's kind of like a bit of a pushing kind of thing that's happening here. Like, oh, can't you just help me out? It's only going to be a few minutes. And because the Seven of Wands is coming for your position, a little bit of a jealousy card maybe. It could be that they were like, oh, but you look like you could probably do this in a couple of minutes, and I am so much, I don't know, less than, or I'm so far away from home, I don't have this, I don't have that. Kind of like that type of exchange may have happened. That may have ultimately led her to decide to spend her time, because we have an Ace of Pentacles in reverse here and an Ace of Cups upright. So it's interesting that we have two aces right next to each other, and then there's the Hermit. But I'll pick up the aces first, because I think the Hermit is the next leg of the story. So we have the Ace of Pentacles here. So she has decided, I think, to invest some time, knowing that she probably didn't have that time to begin with. It's Christmas Eve. She just wants to go to the store to grab some things and go back home to be with her family. But she's like, okay, fine. I guess I'll do that. I'll take this hit for you. And then we have here a plan with the Ace of Swords. I'm thinking this is their plan, the person whom is responsible for her demise. I think that they had like a quick story to tell her, like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and I don't think it's going to take a lot of time. We're just going to do such and such. We're going to be in and out, and you'll be back here on this corner before you know it. Something along those lines, I think, because we have a plan followed by a sacrifice of a resource, which I think in this case is time. Then the Hermits, followed by the Nine of Pentacles and a Queen of Cups. All right, so the Hermit is somebody who normally is a little bit withdrawn. It could be that they are withdrawing within themselves. I think this may be Suzanne herself, kind of like withdrawing inward, and maybe also seeing perhaps some type of profit to be had from this. Like maybe she had a moment to herself where she was like maybe sitting in the passenger seat, kind of thinking about things, possibly planning. She may have like been a little bit withdrawn in that moment. Like she may have already had a bit of an inkling that maybe this wasn't the best of ideas, because this ace is in reverse, and she may have initially just tried to pawn him off with a couple of ideas and then move on, and now she finds herself in a situation where she actually didn't want to be, but he's been so convincing with these two that she's like, okay, fine, I'll just do this. But meanwhile, she has her reservations, and she's thinking about ways that this might turn into something that's going to be good for her. Like maybe she's thinking, oh, well, we're going to take this route. Okay, I could maybe swing past this place, I could maybe swing past that place, and then I'll be done a lot faster with stuff that I had planned. Maybe I won't have to go do XYZ tomorrow or the day after, something along those lines. So she's trying to see the silver lining in this. And the Queen of Cups, I think, is also her trying to be more comfortable in this situation. Like she is the Empress over there in the top row, and I think in this case she's also kind of like getting her emotions sorted out in the situation where she's trying to be more comfortable. Maybe she's trying to ignore the nagging sensation that maybe something is wrong, and she may have just misjudged this person, and therefore it's fine because, like I said, maybe we can get something good out of this, and actually that would be very helpful if you did that for us. And also, why am I questioning these things? They seem perfectly fine, that type of thing. She may have been trying to talk herself out of worrying about whatever might happen next. So I think this is her trying to come to terms with helping them out, and I guess checking the plan for themselves internally to be okay with it themselves. Of course, this is not how it ended, so let's see what we can get from the Terra del Fuego, and if I can read it. Let's see. Oh, there's a couple of cards there actually that just slid off the top. All right, we have here King of Pentacles, and we have the Eight of Cups in reverse. All right, so Eight of Cups is like a walking away thing, and they're not able to do that because it's in reverse. There's also a lot of plants growing out of these cups, and they kind of seem to be pulling stuff like off of they're basically wrecking this pillar over here that appears to be spouting some fire. Well, it is of course called Del Fuego, so I guess that's a lot of fire elements in this deck. We also have fire with the King of Pentacles, whom is somebody, according to this card, who really just wants his own profit and doesn't really care whom he has to step on or step over, because there's a whole stack of what looks like kingly skulls down there. And they appear to be riding this pentacle and dressed as a devil, I think, because perhaps the monetary or other resource gains are controlling them in a sense. That's like the biggest thing in their life. So I think that this is somebody who is very possessive. So I'm thinking that once they had her in their possession, they were like, okay, you're not going anywhere because you're mine now, and I do what I want. I get what I want. I always get what I want. That type of person, I think. So somebody who's very much used to getting what they want, and they're pretty strong in that sense as well. There's definitely a lot of power coming from this card. Also, there's a tear coming from that eye on the coin right there in the middle of the card. So I think, yeah, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter whose expense it comes at, but I will always get what I want, that type of thing. So I think as soon as she basically strapped herself into the car seat, if they were indeed in a car, which seems likely, he considered her his property, and they would do whatever they want with her, or with whomever they managed to get. So I don't think they're even really looking for her specifically, but like I said, there's like a certain type of person that I guess they are drawn to this King of Pentacles, and she just happened to fit that mold, and therefore he was like, okay, this one, we're grabbing this one, and now I'm just going to do whatever I want, and she was unable to walk away from that. Let's see what we have next. A small stack of 4 cards that fell right on my lap and then on the floor. We have the Three of Wands here, so we're definitely traveling. We have the Ace of Swords. Another plan has come up. So basically this is a change of plan, also a change of routes because of the Three of Wands. We have here Death, and we have the Two of Wands, which is unable to see any other way out. So again, a lot of drama in these cards. I think death in this case may both mean end of a chapter, and also we see actually a decapitated head right here, which is how she was found. I don't think they actually found anything other than her head as far as I'm aware, so that's the only thing we ever found. So I'm thinking this is both change of plan, change of direction, and end of a chapter, and also end of her existence. I'm also looking at the fact that it has both a horse head and a person head, so maybe this is also like a very, that kind of reminds me of the Chariot in a way, like it happened very fast, and I guess this could also point towards the method. If you were to look at this Ace of Swords, we got some mountains in the background with fires coming from it, so I'm thinking this is, oh, there's 2 suns actually, so that might point towards 2 days having passed here. I'm looking at these 2 mountains down here. One has the fire coming out of it, and one has just a bunch of ice, and this almost seems like the sun is setting. This one's like the sun is rising, so I think it's almost like it only really took 2 days, and on the day that the sun set, that's when all the trouble happened. That's when the death occurred. And on the second day with the eyes, it's like they were looking for a way out. It's like the sun rose and it was time for plan B, or the second part of the plan, in order to rid themselves, I guess, because death is also standing here with the head, and they're also in a hole here with a flower coming from it. So this may have been somebody who, even though they are very possessive and they really don't care who they hurt, they also have a certain I wouldn't say sentimental side to them, but almost like ritualistic kind of side. Like they're not sentimental about the person that they hurt. They're also looking here at this blade where they're kind of like cutting their hand, which is something that happens very often in a lot of ritualistic environments. So they may have had all sorts of weird beliefs as well, and they did show up with this card, and that is a devil type of person. So they may have been some type of occultist, maybe something weird. In any case, the moth also has eyes on its wings. It's a very strange death card. There's just a lot going on here, and I think that there may have been a lot going on in their mind as well. Now I know that all of these people on these cards appear to have 4 eyes, but this one in particular just kind of strikes me as a representative of the person themselves, like just somebody who is very unusual. Also, the person on the card kind of reminds me of one of the characters from the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And there is this guy who's like the lawyer of the journalist. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but is somebody who is very unhinged and often in a drug-induced state. Like there's something always going on with them that they cannot make normal decisions. Now the person in the movie didn't do anything like this, but it kind of reminds me of that type of person, like somebody who's always kind of in a state which is not a normal state. So this is somebody who has some very unusual hobbies, interests, beliefs, I think. And she may have just been one of the many, or perhaps something that they felt like they needed to do. They may have had like some obsessive thoughts. Oh, there was a whole stack on my lap. We're not going to take all of them, but I'll shuffle this to see what we can get next. That one, maybe one of these. That one, okay. Let's see, so somebody who is into some really weird stuff. And we have the Sun here in reverse. Also an interesting card, but then this entire deck is interesting cards. And we have here the Empress. Okay, so I'm thinking that this, also by the fact that the Empress has their face covered, yeah, this is somebody who has some weird ritualistic beliefs, I think. That's kind of what this is kind of pointing towards. I know that these cards are very unusual in themselves, but it also kind of like has this storyline. Like they just had a weird obsession, and the sun went down. I'm thinking it's a conclusion of a certain ritual, I think. And after that, I think that they still remember Suzanne as some type of entity that is now part of their story. They just kind of claimed her because of the things that they did to her. Like they're still part of their mindset. They may have certain parts of the things that she had on her like still with them in almost like a shrine type setting, I feel like, because this is very much a shrine to an empress, it seems as though. So pretty unusual so far. And what else can you see? Are we ever going to find out who this is? Because we don't know anything about them. We have the World here, which is interesting. I'm thinking that this card means that people do know this guy. They may not know that he's connected. I think it's a he. But they don't... it's not like he's anonymous in a way. Like I'm pretty sure he's known to people in his environment. Like there's always somebody in a town or an area that everybody kind of knows, but nobody kind of talks to because they're just so unusual. And I'm thinking that this is the type of person, almost a bit of a vagrant. The long unkempt beard, even though it does have some bows in it, kind of points to somebody who doesn't tend to take societal norms for hygiene very seriously. Maybe because they're homeless, maybe because they just are very eccentric. I'm thinking this is somebody who definitely stands out. Let's see if we can get anything else. So this is somebody who stands out, but will they ever be connected to this case? 9 of Cups in reverse. 9 of Cups is being emotionally stable normally, but it's in reverse, so I feel like there's anything but stability going on. This is somebody who's very unstable, and it's probably also one of the reasons why they are so well known. Could be that this will also lead to them being discovered. The stars in reverse, I think that they're going to get in trouble for something and people are going to know that there's something wrong with them. This looks like the type of person who is going to eventually end up ratting themselves out and being connected, or at the very least getting in trouble for something else, and in that way getting off the streets. Like they may end up doing something similar again, because I think this type of person can't keep themselves from doing stuff like this for long. It's something I think that's brewing. They may be able to keep themselves from it for a long time, but not indefinitely. And I think that that type of situation will occur again. Maybe not with a lethal ending, but something that is going to be very disturbing, and they're going to be standing out like a sore thumb because of it. Okay. Justice, there we go. So that's what I was actually looking at over here. Eventually they're going to stand out. Something's going to happen that's going to get in the attention of the police and the justice system. And I think that eventually they will be brought to justice for something. Now whether it will be because of Susan, I don't know. But let's see if we can get anything from the Crow Tarot about that. Oh, hang on. There's like 3 cards here. And one over here. I'll grab this one first. Okay, so we have the 7 of Cups here. So that's wishful thinking. Thinking this is the family's wishful thinking, possibly, because I don't think that this is them anymore. It doesn't feel like the perpetrator in this case. We have the 9 of Cups again. So we are still very much emotionally unsettled. And then we have here the 7 of Swords. So that's like this is the 2 Swords cards. We have the 6 and the 7 of Swords. So I'm thinking their thoughts and their words are going to both deceive and lead them to places where they shouldn't be. I think this is from the family's point of view. They're not going to actually find anything more, at least not for the time being. And I also kind of wonder if this may be the perpetrator misleading people as well and sending them on wild goose chases. It could be that they will eventually be considered as the perpetrator in Suzan Lund's case, but they will never really tell the truth. Like there are definitely a few people that have been arrested before for similar crimes that will keep drawing maps for law enforcement, saying, oh no, it's definitely here, go look, and then just kind of waits for them to go and dig holes all over a certain area, even though they knew that there was nothing going to be found there, to either, I don't know, keep law enforcement off their back, or just because they enjoy the attention, they enjoy misleading people. I think we're looking at something like that happening. Yeah, I think this is them being misled, and by them I mean the family being misled and constantly being lied to, given false hope as well. And this could last for a long time, but will they ever see a conclusion to this? Page of Cups, negative surprises. So this is probably the result of all the lying and deception. So they're constantly being negatively surprised. I guess this is the disappointment at the end of another wild goose chase that we're seeing here. And the Queen of Wands. Okay. So I'm feeling like this might be somebody who's going to step in and try to force them to do something. This might be a prosecutor, something along those lines. Somebody who's just kind of had enough and who's probably also had quite a few dealings with similar individuals. So I'm thinking that after a few of these wild geese chases, we're going to see somebody who's going to try to, I want to say knock some sense into them, but of course they can't actually assault people, but more like try to twist their arm in a way, like metaphorically, not physically, to try and get some information that will lead somewhere out of them. Now let's see if they also have a result. Alright, last card I feel. And then we have the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. So that will unfortunately not lead anywhere. Basically, this is saying, okay, they're trying very hard. They're probably really good at their job, but unfortunately, it's a waste of time. They're never actually going to do what they want them to. the perpetrator, and so it's a waste of time trying to get them to cooperate because the investment is wasted. They're just not going to come forward ever. I'm thinking that in some weird, sick, twisted way, they enjoy seeing people get hurt, basically. I mean, they also perpetrated this crime on Christmas Eve, I believe, so that's like a very emotionally heavy time of year for a lot of people, and particularly when something bad happens, that ruins that time of year for the rest of a person's life. So I think they kind of enjoy putting people through pain, and they're gonna probably keep doing that until the very last day on this earth. So that is what I'm seeing for Suzan Lund. A lot of trouble, a very twisted person, it seems, and not a lot of in ways of resolutions. I hope you found that interesting. In any case, make sure to leave a like or a comment. That really helps the channel along. Also, if you'd like to subscribe, that's also very much appreciated. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.